You know, some names are just names. But then you get a name that becomes a legend. A name like Michelangelo. It's not just a name. It's basically another word for genius. And this wasn't something we decided centuries later. I mean, even when he was alive, people didn't just say, oh, he's a great artist. No, they called him Il Divino, the Divine One. Can you even imagine that kind of reputation? So what did it take to earn a title like that?
Well, his contemporary, a guy named Giorgio Vasari, absolutely nailed it. He said Michelangelo was supreme in not one art alone, but in all three. And that, right there, is the whole story. We're not just talking about a master sculptor, or a painter, or an architect. We're talking about someone who was, without a doubt, the master of all of them.
All right, so how do you even get to be the Divine One? For Michelangelo, it started ridiculously early. Let's dive into his rise to fame because it was just meteoric. There's no other word for it.
And I mean, it happened so fast. He's born in 1475. By the time he's 13, he's already a paid apprentice painter, which back then was basically unheard of. Then, at just 24 years old, he finishes the Pietà, a piece that would be the single greatest achievement of almost any other artist's entire life. And just 5 years after that, boom, he unveils the statue of David.
Just let that sink in for a second. By the time he was 30, an age when most artists are still just figuring things out, Michelangelo had already given the world two of the most famous sculptures in all of history. This wasn't just impressive, it was completely revolutionary. He basically rewrote the rules for what a young artist could even dream of achieving.
And here they are. On the one hand, you have the Pietà. It's a work of such insane beauty and deep, deep grief, all carved out of one single block of marble. People literally thought it was a miracle. And then you've got the David, this huge, towering symbol of freedom and physical perfection. I mean, with just these two sculptures, he showed the world he could capture everything, from heartbreaking sadness to defiant power. So, after the David, you'd think he'd have his pick of any project in the world, right? Well, his next massive challenge wasn't something he chose at all. It was this huge, monumental task that was basically forced on him. Okay, so the Pope wanted him to paint the entire, enormous ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Here's the thing, though. Michelangelo did not consider himself a painter. He was a sculptor through and through. His tools were a hammer and a chisel, not a brush. He absolutely did not want this job. So, you're probably wondering, why'd he get the job then? Well, it was a setup, a total setup. His biggest rivals, Bramante and Raphael, actually talked the Pope into giving him the commission. Their whole plan was to stick him with this painting project, something he wasn't famous for, and watch him fail. Like, fail in a big, public, career-ending way. And this is how he failed. He took a job he never wanted, a job that was meant to destroy him, and he turned it into one of the single greatest masterpieces in the entire history of art. Yep, I think it's safe to say the joke was on them. Let's just try to wrap our heads around the scale of this thing for a minute. We're talking about a painting that covers over 500 square meters of ceiling. And on that ceiling, he painted more than 300 different figures. Can you imagine? This wasn't just art. It was an athletic feat. It took him 4 grueling years to finish, a lot of which he spent lying on his back on scaffolding. Just unbelievable endurance.
Okay, so at this point, he's completely changed the game for both sculpture and painting. You'd think, all right, that's enough for one lifetime, right? But nope. For Michelangelo, he was kind of just getting started. His genius just could not be boxed in.
Get this, at age 71, when most people are long since retired, he takes on the job of chief architect for St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. And what does he do? Oh, not much. Just designs this dome, a structure so famous it's been called the greatest creation of the Renaissance. He literally changed the skyline of Rome forever. But what's so fascinating is the contrast between the work and the man himself. I mean, he was creating these jaw-dropping, grand masterpieces for popes and kings, but he himself lived like a poor man. He had this really simple, solitary life and was famous for not caring about comfort at all. Every single bit of his energy went into his art. And the list just keeps going. His talent wasn't just in the big three. He was also a fantastic poet, writing over 300 sonnets. He was a military engineer who designed fortifications for Florence. He even secretly studied anatomy on corpses so he could perfectly capture the human body. All of these different pursuits fed back into his art.
He wasn't just a guy who was good at stuff, he was a true intellectual. Honestly, the term Renaissance man feels like it was invented just for him.
So how do we possibly sum all of this up? What's the one thing, the core of his power, that makes you look at a piece and just know that's a Michelangelo?
Take a look at this piece, The Dying Slave. You can just feel the intensity, right? There's this incredible emotional and physical power, this sense of struggle and spirit that's almost overwhelming. That feeling, that's the key to his entire legacy.
And the people back then, they actually had a word for it. They called it terribilità. It's this fantastic Italian word that basically means an awe-inspiring grandeur, a kind of intense, almost fearsome power that he packed into everything he made. See, his art isn't just beautiful, it's powerful, it's formidable. That's his signature.
And that incredible drive, that terribilità, it just never left him. I mean, he was still working, still carving his final sculpture, another Pietà actually, just 6 days before he died, at age 88. He literally lived and breathed his art until his very last moments. Which really leaves us with one huge kind of mind-blowing question, doesn't it? How does one single person, in just one lifetime, not only master 3 separate arts, but completely redefined what art itself could even be?